Hello YouTube. Yes, I quit smoking about a year and a half ago. So back in July of 2017, I finally made the decision to quit smoking. And instead of going with, a nicotine patch or nicotine gum, I somehow just suddenly discovered vaping. And I mean, I knew about it already. I just wasn't too sure about what it was or what the purpose of it was. So there's a vape store very close to where I live. I went there and I started asking some questions, started doing a little bit of research, and they sold me this little pen device, and I started with that, and that was okay. And then a couple of weeks later, I upgraded to the Kangertech, the single battery 18650 box mod, and that was okay too. And then I slowly sort of graduated to bigger devices, and eventually I have ended up with this beast, this tank. I mean, this is the Geek Vape Aegis Legend 200 watt box mod. Wow, that's a mouthful. Try saying that really fast, really three times really fast. It's an excellent device. It's very durable. It's built like a tank, literally built like a tank. You can drop it from, I think it's about 6 feet or 10 feet or so, and it's supposed to be able to survive that. It's also waterproof. It's got rubber gaskets all around and everything, so it's waterproof. And I've got the Horizon Tech Falcon sub-ohm tank on top of that with a 7 ml with the 7 ml bubble glass, because the tank itself doesn't come with that. You have to buy it separately. And I wanted a little bit more juice throughout my day, throughout my work day, so that I don't have to keep refilling. I don't have to carry my bottles around with me, because I don't actually have a bottle, although I mix. But what I do vape on right now is Cool Rush and Ice Rabbit. So Cool Rush is more like, if I were to describe it to you, I would say it's more like, those mint candies you get after having dinner at a restaurant? So that's basically what Cool Rush is, and Ice Rabbit is pure and simple spearmint gum. So, the Wrigley's spearmint gum? Well, that's basically what Ice Rabbit is. I vape at 6 mg of nicotine salts. I used to do Freebase before, and Freebase I found was very, very scratchy and very, it really used to make me cough a lot, and I was just feeling very congested. But ever since I've switched to nicotine salts, which is a more natural alternative to Freebase, which is regular nicotine, synthetic nicotine, I've found that it actually helps me a lot in the sense that it helps me sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of, crush those cravings, for the lack of a better word, and to also get my fix whenever I'm vaping. So with nicotine salts, it's I find that it's very helpful. From what I've heard, that nicotine salts should not be used in a sub-ohm tank. Now, granted, if you are using 6 mg or less, you should be okay. But anything higher than 6 mg, you should be using not a sub-ohm tank, something with slightly higher ohms, only because nicotine salts will hit you a lot harder, as opposed to freebase, as opposed to freebase nicotine. Whereas, freebase nicotine is more like the synthetic stuff. You can vape it at higher, like about 21 mg in a sub-ohm tank, and you'll be fine. But if you try to vape nicotine salts in a sub-ohm tank at about 25 mg, you'll probably be falling on the floor, seizing or something, or going completely crazy. I've been using this tank, the Horizon Tech Falcon tank, for quite some time now, and I think it's an excellent tank. I've never had any issues with it. I've gone through numerous smoke tanks, and each and every single one of them has given me problems. Each and every single one has had leak issues. Each and every single one has failed. Brand new tanks, no matter how tightly I close it, no matter what I do, no matter how I install, I've looked at, you name it, I have looked at numerous tutorials online of how to close the tank properly, how to make sure that you close it in a way so that your juice is not leaking out. I have read numerous articles as well. Nothing has helped. Each and every single smoke tank I've had issues with. So I said, you know what? Enough is enough. No more smoke. It's out the window. More like in the garbage, but So I switched to the Horizon Tech Falcon tank, and I love this tank. It's absolutely amazing. I've never had any issues with leaking. I've never had any issues, any problems with it. Knock on wood. So far, and it's a fantastic tank. what I find using my device now, most people, I think the vast majority of vapors will vape on in wattage mod. Some of us, however, including me, prefer to vape in, excuse me, in temperature control mode. And I find that temperature control mode is actually better than vaping in wattage, because I find that temperature control actually gives me that ability to control the amount of heat that is going through my juice, that is burning my juice, as opposed to just vaping at 70 watts or 80 watts or 90 or whatever number your preference may be. My usual preference used to be around, I would say, between 65 and 85, and that was okay. But what was happening was that it was just really just too much. It was a very hard hit, especially with freebase nicotine, and I was on 3 mg of freebase nicotine. So, I mean, it wasn't really that high either, but I was coughing a lot. I was feeling very congested. My sinuses were always blocked. But when I switched to nicotine salts, everything has been fine. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any problems with it. And 6 mg of nicotine salts in a sub-ohm tank at 200 degrees Celsius is the perfect, like, it's my sweet spot. And it took me quite a while to get to that sweet spot, but I eventually discovered it, and I'm really, really enjoying my device at 200 degrees Celsius. So I started with 100 degrees Celsius, and I thought, okay, let me just work my way up just a little bit, go up to 125, vape for a bit, 150, vape for a bit, and so on and so forth. So I worked my way up to 200 degrees Celsius that way. And I found that 100 degrees Celsius is okay, but 200 degrees Celsius is the sweet spot. It's right in the middle. Because this device, this Geek Vape device, can go up to 315 degrees Celsius or 600 Fahrenheit is the maximum in TC mode that it can go to. So I keep it at 200, which is kind of sort of in the middle, a little bit higher than the middle, but it's sort of like in the middle between, 0 and 315 would be around 157. So I keep it at 200, which is, thereabouts. And I vape vape using the Horizon Tech Falcon coils. I love these. I absolutely love these coils. These are the M1 mesh coils. These are the wood pulp and cotton mix coils. They can be vaped at 70 to 80 watts. Temperature control, I'm not too sure how high you can go in terms of temperature, but what I found was when I was vaping in temperature control mode, in wattage mode, I really found that it was burning very, very hot, and I guess that's the whole idea. And of course, I was going through a lot of juice that way. I was burning my coils up a lot as well. And speaking of coils, in temperature control mode at 200 degrees Celsius with Cool Rush and Ice Rabbit, I can go through one coil, I would say about 18 days, which is probably average when you're running in temperature control mode. But when I was running in wattage mode at around between 65, 70, 75, I was going through a coil in about, I would say, 8 to 10 days. So you can see there's a massive difference there. That way I'm not spending too much money on coils, I'm not replacing my coils that often, and I'm not going through so much juice. So what I do is I have these two bottles of juice. And these ones, by the way, are at 4 milligrams of nicotine salt. So I'm going down from 6 to 4. These bottles of juice I'm going to mix in here. And this one is pretty much empty. So I'm going to mix in here, shake it like it's like there's no tomorrow, and then go ahead and vape it. And I find that this combination is actually great, because the spearmint by itself is like vaping Wrigley's gum. The Cool Rush by itself is like vaping, those candies that you get at the restaurants. So a mixture of both, a mixture of both, I find really, really works out really well for me. So I found this combination to be great. I do prefer minty juices. I am a huge fan of minty juices, and I have always really favored or leaned to the side of minty juices. Although I have tried some sweet juices, some fruity juices, and even some, some not so great juices, which I would probably never buy again. I mean, there are some juices out there that are just so bad. It's like it just makes you scratch your head and go, "What the hell were they thinking?" It's supposed to be one of those like watermelon and lemonade and menthol and some sort of guava and mixture like that. And if watermelon is your thing, by all means go crazy. But I've never been a fan of watermelon or lemonade for that matter. Minty juices, anytime and anywhere. Oh, and one little thing I completely actually forgot to mention about the device itself. The Geek Vape takes two 18650 batteries, and in temperature control mode, I can run a full charge for 2 straight days. In wattage mode, I was finding at even 65 or 70 watts, I was finding I was going through two fully charged batteries in about, I would say, about a day and a half. So in temperature control mode, it really does help me, and plus it doesn't burn down my juice that often, that frequently, as I mentioned, and it's definitely a much better combination. So what I'd like to know from you, the viewer out there, is if you are a vapor, if you are considering quitting smoking and going to vaping, what do you think would be your preference? Have you given vaping a try? Have you tried some flavors out there? And if you have, let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of the different flavors that you have tried or haven't tried or are thinking about trying. Until next time, thanks for watching.